Hello, wrestling fans, and welcome to the latest edition of the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Of course, Nate Maxon here with you, and as always, I am along with my brother Aaron.
What's up, everybody?
How you doing out there, everybody? It is snowing in Ohio on April 18th. What the fuck?
Fucking stupid.
Hopefully that is turns around. It's supposed to be in the 80s this weekend, and for those of you listening that live in our area, Ohio, Indiana, this Saturday in Fort Wayne at the Memorial Coliseum, the Heroes and Legends Professional Wrestling Convention, and Aaron and I will be there in attendance. So that's kind of exciting just because the main reason I think Aaron's with me, Haku is going to be there.
Yes.
And I have never been to an event that Haku was at before, and I'm excited to get an autograph and get to shake the man's hand. The man shake the hand that pulled out an eyeball or whatever, you know.
Yes, I got a Haku card to sign. I'm excited about Barbarian be there. I got some Barbarian shit to sign. I got a Warlord figure. I'm gonna put it all in my little box and just pay these dudes to sign my shit. Bob Backlund will be there again. I know you got Bob's autograph the last time, and I kind of after it was done, I was like, God damn it, I should have got something autographed by Bob. So I bought a magazine of when he first won the belt. So I'm gonna get him to sign that. It's gonna be fun.
Be some stars there that we talk about on Reliving the Extreme also, like the Sandman's going to be
Yes.
there, I believe. Francine.
I got something for Sandman to sign. The random dude that I'm kind of wanting to meet, and I'll probably get him to sign an 8x10 or whatever, is Ernest Miller.
Yeah, I didn't even realize he was going to be there. I guess I missed him on the lineup.
He's on the lineup. So, yeah. I mean, they might, hopefully, they take him off. But it's like, I want to meet Ernest Miller. That dude, underrated in my opinion.
Yeah. Not a fantastic wrestler, but a personality times 12.
He's like one of the better things about WCW 2000.
Yeah.
Fucking Ernest Miller.
Always a good show, the Heroes and Legends. Again, it's at the Fort Wayne Memorial Coliseum this Saturday, April 23rd. And it's always fun. It's always a well-organized show. You can buy collectibles, get autographs, and then they have a wrestling show in the end where you can watch some of the legends wrestle as well. So it's always a good time. And like I said, Aaron and I will be there. I'll probably be in a Reliving the Extreme t-shirt if you want to seek us out. So that being said, let's get into this week's show. This week's show, we're going to talk about sad promotion I don't think we've ever talked about before here on the show. It is the American Wrestling Federation, which ran from 1994 to 1996. Chicago promoter Paul Alperstein started the show. I remember a couple of things about this. All right. First of all, Aaron sent me a YouTube video. It said AWF Warriors of Wrestling. I was like, I remember seeing this show at like midnight, in the mid 90s, thinking it was weird because like the top guy was Tito Santana. Even though I like Tito Santana, he's not exactly the top guy, But I also remembered, then I opened, because I figured you had sent me like an episode of Warriors of Wrestling, and I'm like, all right. So then I opened up the video, and it's 2.5 hours long, and I'm like, Jesus Christ.
When I found this thing, I thought, okay, this is what it was under. There's a YouTube subscription thing. It's just wrestling pay-per-views. I'm like, they have a fucking pay-per-view? No. And I found it, and no, they didn't. And when I saw it, like I didn't even think. I just saw, AWF had a pay-per-view, and I sent you guys the link before I even watched the whole thing, And when I watched it, I was like, oh my God, are these guys going to want to do this?
Well, that's what I was thinking.
It's essentially an AWF mixtape.
Yes.
That's why I posted I posted a link of it on our Facebook page, because this thing is fucking schizophrenic.
It is. And that's what I was going to say. We aren't going to talk, obviously, about every match in detail and all that stuff, but I think what this will do...
every single fucking match.
You do? I don't have notes for every match. What I do have, though, is like, not necessarily notes on the matches, but as we go through, a lot of things. Some things will go through fast. Some things will dig a little deeper. I
Oh, yeah,
wrote
I
down.
mean, some
I
of my
wrote.
notes. Oh, sorry.
I wrote down the goofy things, but I think the other thing that it's going to be is it'll spur conversation about some of the stars that are there.
Yeah,
That's the main thing.
like some of my notes are just like this guy, this match, winner, and this.
Yeah.
But then there's also a thing. But yeah, it's fucking weird.
And then I also remembered as I was watching it, I can't find it because I tried to locate it after I started watching the YouTube video at one time, and I don't know if it got lost in a move or it's in the wrong tote, and I just can't find it. I actually have a 4-disc DVD set that I had bought probably on eBay or Amazon or something, probably a decade ago, that had the entire 1995 season of this promotion. And I can't find it because when I was watching this thing, I was like, I want to go back and watch that. Can't find it anywhere. I might have to reorder it again. It doesn't even say AWF on the cover. It just says Warriors of Wrestling, but it's the entire 95 season of this promotion. So, all right. Like I said, it was the mid 90s.
You said it's Paul Apperstein. He was the owner, but there was also that, and we'll talk about him a little bit. But that Rico Suave guy,
Yes,
the fat manager, which every like northeastern promotion had a Rico Suave.
yes.
Some
A guy who,
yes,
a guy who retorted himself with a sexy name, but was anything but.
This guy's real name is I'll fuck his last name up, but it's Steve Signor, and apparently he had mob ties. He was connected.
He was probably helping to finance the thing, is what we're saying.
Well, yeah, but it was getting financed with mob money. Like, and then after I saw it, like after I read that or found that information out, I'm like, yeah, he kind of looks like a nice guy Eddie type person.
Yes.
Chris Penn or whatever from fucking Reservoir Dogs. Like I could picture this guy like walking around in a tracksuit around Chicago.
Got a problem.
Got a problem?
Well, it starts the show. They start the show with a Sergeant Slaughter.
It's a mixtape.
All right, we start the mixtape, the AWF mixtape, with Sergeant Slaughter with a promo. The funny thing about the next thing, unless you had something on the Slaughter promo,
no.
Every promotion that wasn't the WWF or WCW in the 90s, at some point, any of those upstart promotions that tried to get up and going, always hired Sergeant Slaughter, Tito Santana, Bob Orton, and Greg Valentine.
Yes.
That was your four. Yeah, I'm a money mark. I'm starting a promotion, and these are the four guys that are going to take my money
because they were the ones that were still somewhat able to go.
Yeah, and fairly still relevant too.
Yeah.
But the funny thing about this mixtape, as you're calling it, is the first match is actually from the last season because Lord Alfred Hayes is on commentary because the Legion of Doom is in a match here. They cut a promo, which is a standard promo. Ken Resnick is your interviewer, which I like Ken Resnick.
I do too.
Like the old prime times, from like 86 and 87. Ken Resnick was a nice second man to Gene Okerlund. He was a good interviewer. Probably the only thing that aesthetically about him is he was taller than like 70% of the wrestlers. Yeah. So the interviewer's like hovering over the wrestler. But yeah, I thought Ken Resnick was pretty cool. He was a good interviewer. I think he started in the AWA, I believe.
He did.
But Ken Resnick. Oh, go ahead. What's that?
He probably sells cars now.
Yeah, something like that.
Usually a retired professional wrestler is a truck driver or a bouncer. And then you usually hear like the fucking interviewer sells cars now.
Yes. He's probably back in Minneapolis.
Yeah. The wrestler is a trucker because he likes to be on the road, and the commentator is a car salesman because, well,
he's a salesman. The Lord Alfred Hayes is on commentary on this Legion of Doom match. That's why I said this is from the last season of AWF, because Lord Al actually didn't come into the AWF until '96, replacing Terry Taylor on commentary after he had got let go for the WWF for quote unquote budget cuts. The classic story where they took the water coolers out of the Titan Towers because they were so broke. Legion of Doom faces, I don't remember what they called him on the show, but it was obviously Al Green, and then another guy whose name I didn't catch.
They called him Rage, was Al Green.
Okay.
And they didn't give the other guy a name, so I just put it's the Road Warriors versus Rage and Elliot.
Elliot, okay. The promotion used rounds, the European system.
Stupid.
Yeah, it is. It doesn't, I mean, it just doesn't translate well.
To American wrestling, let me say that, because I like watching World of Sport, and those guys knew how to do it.
Right.
But here it doesn't work.
Now, one thing they do as they go through here, and it's a nice touch, is, and we'll get to them later, but they do mention as a good little storyline touch that Chris Adams and Steve Casey are going to be more, what do you want to say, more attuned to the round system because they wrestled in England. This was your standard LOD squash.
Yes. Rage and Elliot stood no chance.
The next thing totally stinks because Charlie Norris always stunk, and he's stinky, and Charlie Norris even looks like he stinks. I hate Charlie Norris. Fat Tonka, that's what I call him. Fat Tonka takes on Tony Ramone, and my notes are Norris stinks, always stunk. So,
and I don't know who the guy that was commentating with Terry Taylor was.
Mick Karch.
Yeah, and I think, honestly, I couldn't remember his name, but I think he worked for Smoky Mountain. I think he was an interviewer for Smoky Mountain.
He did.
But that dude...
He's actually, I don't mean to cut you off, but he's actually very, very well-spoken and smart, too. He does, because he's a Minneapolis guy also, or like a Chicago guy. And because of the Minnesota stuff, obviously because with the Minnesota connection, that's a lot of the people that Wade Keller kind of gravitates to. And on his Pro Wrestling Torch podcast, Mick Karch will be on there from time to time, and he's actually quite keen. I like listening to him. But anyway,
is he the guy? You can tell me if I'm wrong, but I like Smoky Mountain, but I only saw him on a couple of clips on here. Is he the same guy that interviewed Tammy when she took her robe off or whatever, and like he was the guy interviewing her by the pool? Was that him?
I am pretty positive that was him.
All right.
Yes.
Because that was like a cool unveil, because she was supposed to be this hoity-toity chick, or not to get into Smoky Mountain, but like she was like this fucking Hillary Clinton type chick wearing the fucking shoulder pad things or whatever, and all of a sudden I was like, oh, whoa, she's a babe.
Hello.
But this guy, I know you said you didn't want to talk much about the match, and I sent you the clip. This Mike Ketch, is that what you said his name was?
Mick Karch.
Mick Karch or whatever.
Yes, Mick Karch.
He says the when Charlie Norris wins his match and he starts doing his war dance, he says the AWF fans are certainly into his package right now.
He made an unwitting dick joke, ladies and gentlemen.
Like I knew he meant like, his
presentation,
gimmick, his presentation. But this guy's like war dancing around the ring, and he's like, they're really into his package right now. Like, I don't think anybody's into Chuck Norris's. Oh my God. I just realized that Charlie Norris, he can be Chuck Norris.
Forgot to mention, during this whole deal, they have an insert here with Rico Suave and his tag team of Greg Valentine and Tommy Rich.
Yes. They're calling him Luscious Tommy Rich.
Luscious Tommy Rich. Yes. At this point, not so luscious. But anyway. Probably smells like Newports and whiskey. But anyway.
Still awesome, though.
Up next, We have he's about to be Doc Hendricks, Michael Hayes, and he looks like a district manager, Jimmy Garvin. It's the Freebirds.
There you go. Little coiffed little Jufro. Not Jewish,
his
though.
mustache, his
He's got
mustache.
a little mustache and a little fucking little afro going on.
But yeah, when they came out, I was like, Jimmy Jam looks like he'd be coming to visit your store before your inventory to make sure you're right.
Yeah. And they're facing Don Diamond and Hubert Simpson.
And the dude. Okay, they make a lot of Homer. You got to see this guy, ladies and gentlemen.
He looks
Hubert
like
Simpson.
I put this, and I'm not saying it because he's African American. I'm stressing that. Okay.
Yes.
But he is built like the poop emoji.
And he really does look like Homer Simpson.
Yes.
In the face. Like, you have to see this guy. Look him up for your own posterity. Hubert Simpson. And of course, they make Homer Simpson jokes like Terry Taylor says, dope, and things like that.
Northeast wrestling was fucking terrible at this time. I mean, it's funny, but it's like, Hubert Simpson, really, Curly Joe, shit like that. It's like, what is going on?
Yeah, unless in the Northeast, unless it was ECWA or ECW.
It was pretty bad.
It was pretty fucking bad. And you can guarantee we're going to see Johnny Gunn, King Kong Bundy, Superfly Jimmy Snuka, Greg Valentine. Yes. Your standards.
Terry Taylor has a couple good lines. Hubert Simpson gets knocked down, and he said Hubert is taller laying down than he is standing up. And then he really doesn't like that Don Diamond guy. Like, I don't think he's just being a color commentator when he says, "Who let Don Diamond into my sport?"
Yeah, I actually have on my notes here. They really shit on Don Diamond in commentary. And I also wrote down that the Freebirds versus Don Diamond and Hubert Simpson went way too long.
Oh yeah, there's another match later that does too.
But yes, that was interesting. Ken Resnick does an interview with the Freebirds afterwards, and then
Jimmy Jam. I know you're not as big of a Jimmy Jam Garvin fan as I am, and I'll say this, like, Jimmy Jam and Michael Hayes together to me aren't the Freebirds.
Right.
I don't think they were a terrible team, but they weren't the Freebirds to me. Like, I would have liked them more if they called themselves something other than the Freebirds. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But I do like Jimmy Jam, and I just always liked when he'd open up his promos with "Yeah, yeah, yeah." This one's funny because Ken Resnick brings him in. He's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm in the mood to smack somebody in the face." I don't know why that made me laugh, but it did. I don't know if it's because he had that little. I don't know if it's because he had a little afro and the mustache or whatever. He's like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm in the mood to smack somebody in the face." It's fun.
And that's the thing. Even though they look older and etc., they still have the charisma. It's still Michael Hayes and Jimmy Garvin.
Yes.
The next thing is it's a funny group. Sheikh Adnan Al-Kaisi is managing Hercules and Mr. Hughes, and I have a written down. I have a written down here. What am I, Sal Balomo? I have written down here because everyone knows. If you listen, we do another podcast, Reliving the Extreme, where we're going through ECW week to week, and because of that, and then this. Man, for the past 6 months, I've had such a Mr. Hughes overdose. This is probably the most Mr. Hughes I've ever watched in a certain period of time in my life. I've watched a lot of Mr. Hughes lately. really digging into his career. I guess we're gonna be Mr. Hughes historians. The funny thing I thought about this was Mr. Hughes keeps calling Hercules the Hercules. When you face Mr. Hughes and the Hercules.
His promos improved though, because he doesn't bring up the Undertaker or Lawrence Taylor.
True, very true. But he has the Hercules. And they are managed by Sheikh Adnan Al-Kaisi, which is kind of a funny manager for these guys. I don't know, it just doesn't fit. But I mean, three talented guys. I like everybody in the group. It's just weird. So did you catch, like, they started showing a match between Jimmy B and Johnny Gunn, and then it just cut away from it? Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Or did I go to pee or something and miss it?
No, there's a finish. Johnny Gunn beats him with a tiger bomb.
Okay, I guess maybe when I got to pee or something and I missed it, it must have just been really short. Because what I have here is Jimmy V versus Johnny Gunn, but then it's Gunn and Powers versus Hubert Simpson and Ken McGuire.
Yeah, the only thing that this match was used for was to talk about how the ladies like Johnny Gunn and they all want him to dick him down. That's basically the gist of the match.
The match. Okay, so you got the Hubert Simpson guy here again, and this Ken McGuire, who's a big tub of goo. And the match is. First of all, you're trying to get these. Go ahead.
We got to explain or kind of try to describe these people, because we said Hubert Simpson looks like a poop emoji with a Homer Simpson face. Ken McGuire, okay.
Yes.
When I saw Ken McGuire, first off, did you like the comedian / comedian musician Tim Wilson?
Yes.
Used to be on Bob and Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He did the First Baptist Bar and Grill.
Yeah.
Remember that song?
Yes.
Well, like where the church got burnt down, so like they let and one of the lines is the preacher's going in there, and it's like he actually says the only one that showed up was Ken McGuire, and that's a little son of a bitch set the church on fire. That's that's a good line. But then when I was watching Ken McGuire, I was like, Ken McGuire looks like somebody. And I know it's not the same guy. Like, I know Ken McGuire isn't this guy. But if I would have to describe Ken McGuire to anybody, you know who he looks like?
Who?
He looks like Francis from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
You're right. Now that you say it, I see it. Yeah.
That's Ken McGuire. Francis.
From
Pee-wee's Big Adventure. And this is the match that I put in my notes. Why is this still going?
Yes. I put this is way too competitive. Like, you're trying to get these two baby faces over, and they're going like 12 minutes with these two frumpy jobbers.
And they're getting like super offense on these. Like, Johnny Gunn is like selling for fucking Francis. It's like, what is going on?
And Jim Powers looked super gassed too in this match.
Yeah, well, he probably was.
But yes, you're right. That's in my notes as well. Way too competitive of a match.
And Gunn and Powers win with their finishing move, which is essentially the heart attack, but with a bulldog instead, and they call it the power gun.
Sounds like a sex toy. All right.
And that's the noise right there. They call it the power gun.
And they had like, is it during this match, or is it? I guess it is, because I don't know if they have another match on this tape, but like They're trying to get over, like you said, that Johnny Gunn is like loved by the ladies, but the lady that's loving him is like this 13-year-old girl.
Oh yeah, those are later on in the notes or something.
Okay.
Like,
Okay, so that must be during another thing because I was like, that's kind of creepy.
yeah,
Did you see her all over me? Whoa.
yeah,
Whoa there.
yeah. That's coming up.
Then Powers and Gunner.
That is the next interview. Sorry,
Okay.
because he comes out and he gives like this little girl his armband or whatever. And I'm like, ugh. These girls are like 13. What is going on? And it's obviously staged. So it's like, why wouldn't you have like
a woman,
20-year-old?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this girl is wearing a t-shirt that looks like she borrowed from her dad and some jeans. It's like, that is a little girl. She has a barrette in her hair.
It's like,
what is going on?
Yeah, where is this gimmick with Johnny Gunn going?
Yeah.
Well, Gunn and Powers give a terrible interviewer to a terrible interview to a terrible interviewer.
Yes,
named Chrissy.
Chrissy. The only thing I put about her is that she looks like that she would be like cast on like Law and Order as some like shitty female defense attorney. That's what she looks like to me. Like a 95. She's the chick that Lenny Briscoe has to like put in her place during cross-examination, and she's all mad about it.
I have down that she seems to me like one of the random multiple female interviewers in the past 10 years in WWE who I have no idea who they are. Because if it's not Renee Young, I have no fucking clue who they are. Seriously, like just random women interviewing wrestlers.
Their job.
Well, yeah, her. The only two of the random women that have been, I don't get in the weeds, but of the, I guess, random women, not random, but these two aren't random. But of all the women that they put on, and I'm not saying women can't be broadcasters, but WWE doesn't pick good ones. The two best that they've picked in the past 10 years or whatever, obviously Renee Young, and I actually like JoJo as a ring announcer.
Okay, I was gonna say I liked that Charlie Caruso chick or whatever.
Yeah, she was good. Was she the one that had like Paul Heyman was always giving her?
No, she was I don't know. She was the she had like shorter brunette hair. Like it wasn't like a Karen haircut, but she was she was the hot brunette chick, and she did like Raw Talk and Talk and Smack or whatever. And I liked her. I mean, what first made me watch her was like, God damn, like she's attractive. And so was Renee Young. She's attractive. So is Renee Young. She's attractive too. But that Charlie Caruso chick, she was good at her job. And they're the two that fucking got picked up by ESPN. So obviously they were good at their job.
Yep. Conan 2000, which is Scott Putski, is up next against Ronnie Vegas. I have no notes on the match.
What? Conan 2001 and Scott Putski was butt.
Up next, there is a wrestler on this show named Lightning Rod. Yes. And he faces
some other fuck named Hurricane Smith.
Hurricane Smith, who it seems like, I'm thinking Hurricane Smith probably knew Alperstein. Like he was one of Alperstein's, like maybe went out, because Alperstein was an indie promoter. Maybe Hurricane Smith worked for him on the indies or something, because they're really like pushing this guy like they think he's a star, this Hurricane Smith.
And if you're a big fuck, which this guy is, he's like 7 foot is what they're promoting him at. They try to say 7 foot and over 400 pounds. I don't think he's over 400 pounds, but he's a big fuck. Unless you're like the name Hurricane Smith doesn't work.
Yeah.
I mean, like this guy does not look like he's the Hurricane. Like this is butt. And Hurricane Smith wins with a big splash that they title the Thunderclap. Finishing the Thunderclap. It's made me laugh now because it's like that's a term for like chicks that twerk. Booty hoes be like, oh, they made that thunderclap. Be like, no, I don't want to see Hurricane Smith twerk.
As crazy as it sounds, Aaron might even give me the side eye for this one. The next match on this whole 2.5 hour extravaganza is actually my favorite match on this thing. I never would.
It's not bad.
I never would have thought, even though I like them individually, that I would really enjoy Tony Atlas and Coco Beware as a tag team.
It's not bad.
It's Tony Atlas and Coco Beware against the Texas Hangmen, who we have discussed when we've discussed the Pro Wrestling Illustrated 500 before, Killer and Psycho, and we didn't know who they were. Now we've seen them. They weren't a bad heel team. Tony's out there in his jammy pants, of course, his all-American jammy pants. But this tag match is actually really good. The crowd is into it. And Tony Atlas and Coco Beware were a good-ass tag team here.
And the AWF was like, fuck Vince McMahon. Go out there to Birdman. Fuck it. Go. Like, they legit played Birdman for them to come out.
Yes, indeed.
Unabashed.
But yeah, like I said, I really actually dug this match. I thought it was a good tag match. Atlas and Coco, a good babyface team. These Texas Hangmen dudes, it's a played out gimmick by 1995, but they're a good team. They're a good heel team. I didn't find anything really wrong with this at all.
Nope.
Then Nails with an S, not a Z. Nails with an S comes out to do a pull apart brawl with Tony Atlas. And I had a random thought here about Nails. If Kevin Kelly would have kept that gimmick, like, how now, okay, fast forward, when is this, 30 years ago? Anyway, fast forward, 20, I don't know, whatever, however many years it is, 27 years ago. Fast forward to now, or 10 years ago, or even 15 years ago. You know how we've talked about on the show before, and you and I have talked about it a long time. Once you get to a certain age as a wrestler, you automatically become a babyface. Like in the indies and stuff, like Honky Tonk Man. When he's on an indie show now, he's the fun-loving Honky Tonk Man. He's a babyface,
He's like,
or whoever.
Sing again, and everybody's like,
yeah. So you know what I'm saying. Even the heels become babyfaces. The Powers of Pain. That one of the indie shows, or one of the Heroes and Legends show we went to. The Powers of Pain wrestled the heel tag team because they're old, so they're baby faces now. And I was thinking about babyface Nails. Like, if he would have stayed like on the convention circuit or whatever, Kevin Kelly, from what I hear, he's kind of an asshole. So he kind of burned all his bridges. But, I just pictured like babyface Nails coming out to Jailhouse Rock by Elvis or something, it's some indie shit.
Yeah. Or he's old now, so he's like the convict that's been locked up for the longest time, and like his manager's a fucking mouse.
Yeah, he's the old convict that's now a nice man.
Yeah, he didn't murder somebody in 1935, but now his best friend's a mouse, and he runs the library.
I was thinking of the guy that they show on Walk the Line. It's like, I was dressed in black. The guy that's just really enjoying watching Johnny get. He's been in prison for like 30 years. He's just an old guy now.
Because he did something fucking horrible. Like, we don't even remember what he did.
Yeah. Now he's just old Joe.
Yeah. Like he
gets along with all the guards and shit.
Yeah. Like, we forget that he smothered a black kid because he possibly stole something.
Now he makes apple pie for the warden.
Yeah, and he fucking runs the library. They always run the library.
They always run the library.
And their friend's a mouse. By
Well,
by the end of the movie, I mean they got to electrocute him now, but it's like, oh, but he's cool with it. Hey, I understand.
I'm ready to go home.
Yes, he's the guy that they didn't put the sponge on his head in fucking Green Mile. Everybody's mad about it. You know the guy I'm talking about, like Brian
Yep.
Hildebrand?
Mm-hmm. The guy from Evening Shade.
Yeah, Green Mile is actually a pretty goddamn good movie.
It is.
I'm not a big Stephen King guy, but Green Mile's a good movie. You didn't wet the sponge, you asshole, and then they throw him in the fucking padded room or whatever. That's a good fucking movie. We're not gonna get too into the weeds on that though.
Like I said, Atlas and Nails do a pull apart brawl between Tony Atlas and Nails. So again, this whole segment, nothing wrong with it. I like it. It was effective.
Yeah.
The match and the feud.
Yes.
The next match has Terry Allen, who I think this is the same Terry Allen that used to wrestle in the WWF, like a job guy in the late 80s.
Yeah, it ain't Magnum TA, I'll tell you that.
No, it's not. No. So actually, I think in WWF he wrestled as Jerry Allen. He teams with Eric Freedom versus the Samoan SWAT team. During this match, there is an insert from the Steve Casey guy who I absolutely despise. This guy's terrible with his stupid hair and his stupid hat and his, I don't know. Yeah, I don't even know who this guy is.
I don't even think he's really British.
Because when they said, we're going to hear from Steve Casey, I was like, Texas Steve Casey? And then he comes on, I'm like, what the fuck is this guy? What is this dude? And he's just there being British.
Here's butt.
Yeah. Obviously, they're obviously trying to build a feud between Steve Casey and Chris Adams here. The two British guys have to feud with each other. But the SST go over.
Terror. I can't say. I was making fun of myself because I almost said terror. Terry Taylor kicks off his little stupid gimmick that he's doing with commentary where he's
the impressions.
And he actually does like the idea is stupid and all the other ones suck, but Terry Taylor actually does a pretty good Macho Man.
Yes.
I'll give him that. Like his Macho Man was on point. All the other ones that he does are fucking trash. But
yes, and what Aaron's alluding to, folks, if you're not taking the time to watch this 2.5 hour video, is throughout the shows, Terry Taylor they'll be doing commentary, and then Terry Taylor will go, like with the Macho Man, he'll go, oh, yeah, the American Wrestling Federation, and then they'll do this thing where like, who is this guy? Get him out of here, blah, blah, blah. Trying to act like, Randy Savage or Hulk Hogan or somebody is actually at this thing. It's stupid.
It's stupid and pathetic and dumb. I don't know what other expletives I could use, but yeah.
Yeah.
All the other impersonations suck, and I wrote them all down, but the Macho Man one he actually does a good fucking Macho Man. I'll give it that.
The next match is John Paul, who did I remember him doing jobs for the WWF on like early Raw. He's against that Steve Casey clown. This wasn't good. That guy's a clown. I don't like him. Like I've never seen this guy before, and I never want to see him again. Fuck him. I don't like this Steve Casey guy. He sucks.
Where was John Paul's tag team partner, George Ringo?
Here comes Terry Taylor's next impression, because the next match is Tom Zank. There's another guy that whenever there was some upstart promotion back then, let's get us some Tom Zank.
And he's a guy that I'm actually, and I know you're not, but I'm a fan of, and we've talked about it before, that I think where promotions failed with Tom Zank was Tom Zank should have been a heel. He should have been a fucking bad guy.
Yes.
And I know why why promotions didn't want to book him as a bad guy, because at the time that he was wrestling, he was in shape. He was a good looking guy. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So when a promoter would look at him and be like, this guy's a white meat baby face. But in my opinion, Tom Zank's like persona and the way he carried himself, how do I want to say it? It was almost like a Lex Luger. You know what I mean? Where I honestly think that Tom Zank, I don't know the guy, I never knew that he's dead now, but like I never met the guy and never will or whatever. But I think Tom Zank, honestly, in real life, probably had an ego about himself. And I think let that guy just put his ego on TV.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
not be
Oh,
like
and
not
obviously,
clacking hands with the ladies. You know what I mean? Or like hugging them or whatever. He should have been the guy being like, your ladies want to hug me. Look at me.
mm-hmm, like Rick Rude.
Yeah, I'm the Z Man. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not a nick. Like Z Man shouldn't have been a nickname that somebody gave him. That should be a nickname that he gave himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you get a nickname, that's cool. You know, I've known dudes that have nicknames. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You ever met that guy that gave himself a nickname?
Oof. Yeah.
Like I'm Rod Dog. Ugh. Now, if somebody else gave Rod the nickname Rod Dog, everybody's like,
Yeah.
"Hey, Rod Dog's here," or whatever. But when
Yeah.
he walks in and be like, "Hey, Rod,"
Yeah. Well,
here,"
that's what I was say. Obviously, because we grew up in the '90s, and my first name is Nate. Since the beginning of my high school career and on through the rest of my life, people have constantly called me Nate Dog. That's
yeah,
been my nickname.
but you
But
never
I
walk.
didn't say I
Yeah,
didn't say I'm Nate Dog.
yeah, you didn't walk into the room and be like, "Hello,
Nate Dog's in
Nate
the
Dog,
house.
Nate Dog, nice to meet you."
Right. People
Yeah,
just see me and go, "Oh, Nate Dog, what's up,
yeah,
man?"
yeah. But I always thought that I think Tom Zank would have had a different career if he would have been established as a heel, in my
Mhm.
because
Um,
he was, and I know, like I said, I know you're not a fan of him, but
well,
Tom
no, I
Zank
was going to say,
also
I,
he was
I
also
agree
a
with
hell of a
you.
fucking wrestler.
Well, I was about to say, I agree with you about the heel thing, and I have to clarify, I am not a fan of him really as a singles, but I did enjoy him and I did like him as a tag team. To me, he's a tag team wrestler, and I agree with you, a heel wrestler. Like I liked his team with Brian Pillman. I liked his team with Rick Martel. I liked Tom when he was in a tag team.
Yeah,
Um, and to speaking to you, what you were saying about his arrogance, obviously he's arrogant. This guy walked out of the WWF when they were doing the best business they ever did in 1987. That's arrogance. Like, I don't
yeah.
need the WWF. What?
Like imagine if you were talking about him in the WWF. Imagine if they would have flipped the script and they would have been like, okay, the Young Stallions are heels now because Paul Roma. They tried to push Paul Roma as a face.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Roma's a much better heel. I don't know if you ever listened to Paul Roma talk, but that guy's a fucking asshole in
Mm-hmm.
real life. You know what I mean? Like, could
Well,
you
but
imagine? They're like, we're the Young Stallions. The Young Stallions is a heel fucking team. I'm not saying they would have ever been like the fucking champs or whatever, but they would have been fucking great as fucking like a little
well,
heel tag team.
Zank teamed with Martel, but um, that Jim Powers was
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you're.
no, that's okay though. But like Roma and Zink could have worked as a team.
Yeah,
I see what you're saying. Yeah,
I
they,
misspoke on that. Sorry.
that's all right. No, but I could when you said it, I could say, oh yeah, Zink and Roma as heels, little like like a Gino Hernandez kind of character.
Yeah.
You know, they pull up in their fucking convertible,
Yeah.
getting off their private plane.
Little shitty little assholes.
All right. Well, there's our Tom Zink dissertation here on the show.
He
Well,
beat Hulk Elliott.
Hulk Elliott, and this is where Taylor's next impression comes in. His awful impression of Hulk
Hulk
Hogan.
Hogan. At first, I was like, "Who's he impersonating?" And then I realized, "Oh, Hulk Elliott's in the match." That's who he's fucking impersonating. Fucking Mike's nutsack or whatever you said his name is like, who's that guy in red and yellow running away?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, shut the fuck up.
Stupid. Anyway, Tom Zink wins this match. The next match, well, there's an interview with Tony Atlas and Coco Beware that's good. I loved, like, Coco was doing his preacher voice, and Tony Atlas was like, oh, yeah, bro. Oh, he was rolling right. Man, these guys were fucking fun on this show. I don't give a fuck. Coco Beware and Tony Atlas, man, I'm all about it. But yeah, it was great because Coco's doing like the "we coming down," and Tony Atlas is like, "Oh yeah, brother." Yeah.
Well, that's what Tony Atlas at the beginning of it. He's like, "Y'all don't know, but Coco can sing," and then Coco's like, "Oh yeah, brother."
Yeah. For me, this was the Tony Atlas Coco Beware show. I guess I really enjoyed them in the AWF. But anyway, the next match. Pretty Boy Floyd and Firefighter Jim. Sounds like I'm reading indie results on Slice of Time here. They fight a team that I dig because I like both guys. I'm a mark for Warlord. Everybody knows that. And I actually liked Jeff Gaylord.
Yeah.
It's stupid that they call them the Lord Brothers. That's dumb. Like Warlord's first name is War and his last name is Lord. Whatever. It's stupid.
Well, it's not far-fetched. I mean, there was another muscled up fucking moron named Warrior.
True.
Not saying Warlord's a muscled up moron. He's probably intelligent. And I like Warlord, and I like these, and I do like these guys. By the way, I'm a Jeff Gaylord fan. I think Jeff Gaylord was awesome in Texas, and he's built like he's in shape and everything like that. His life was crazy.
Yes.
If you, like I said, I don't like to plug other podcasts on here, but I plug the ones I like. You know what I mean? And I love crime and sports. And there's a Jeff Gaylord crime and sports podcast you got to listen to if you want to listen to the fucking insane life of Jeff Gaylord.
And that's funny too, because back in the 90s, when we would watch Global or, whatever, I always was like, I don't know why this guy's never been to the WWF. Why have they never signed this guy? He seems like he'd be perfect.
And then I listened to crime and sports, and I'm like, oh, that's why. He's got some priors on him.
Well, Jeff Gaylord and the Warlord go over. I think during this match is when Terry Taylor does his Ric Flair impersonation.
I believe so.
And essentially, he just sounds like Terry Taylor with a stuffy nose. That's his Ric Flair impersonation.
Which is his entire career. I like Terry Taylor, but that was just whole. Nobody understands that either. They talk about like, they made like Dusty dance around, and they had Virgil be Virgil because they're making fun of Dusty. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
The Red Rooster was them mocking Ric Flair.
Yes,
I thoroughly believe that. That
the
was
cock of the walk.
Yeah, and pecking and bird nose and all that shit. They were making fun of Ric Flair.
I agree. And what I tend to disagree with is like that's one of those because I'm not one of those guys. I'm not one of those guys that's like dismisses everything Bruce Pritchard says just because he's been Vince McMahon's guy. There are a lot of those snooty, we talk about them here on this podcast. There are a lot of snooty wrestling fans and snooty wrestling podcasters that like to do that. But I will agree with Cornette in that the Artful Dodger is the perfect nickname for Bruce.
Yeah.
And sometimes he is full of shit. And one of the things where I always, when I hear it, and I'm like, Bruce, you're full of shit, is whenever he says, oh, the Red Rooster just didn't work because Terry Taylor didn't want it to and he didn't get it over. No, you saddled him with a shitty gimmick. Yeah. And there's a lot of times where Bruce will say something like, and I'm like, all right, yeah, I can see the WWF's line on that. That's fine. But the whole thing about Terry Taylor and that was never going to be a main event gimmick. It was never going to work. It was stupid.
The Red Rooster was to make fun of Flair, and Akeem obviously was making fun of Dusty Rhodes because they couldn't get those guys to sign.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. The Akeem is blatant. There's dream in the name. There's the dancing. It's blatant. I just watched today. I just watched the primetime wrestling from '88 from Paris. You ever watch that?
Yes, it's aesthetically one of my favorite wrestling shows of all time.
Yes, and it's a great card. And the main event match, and I like One Man Gang. Everybody, don't get me wrong. I like George Gray. He's awesome for a big man, but he wasn't a fantastic worker. Obviously, that wasn't the point, right?
He was a
That wasn't what he was supposed to be. But that Paris show, I just watched it this morning, which is why it's fresh in my mind. He main events with Randy Savage for the WWF title, and it's the best Akeem match I've ever seen.
Yes, and you know it's funny if you watch the show, you know when all the wrestlers are coming out and like they're coming out of that lighted tube or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
You get what I'm saying when I say it's like aesthetically it's cool.
Oh yeah, it's so different, especially for back then, for the WWF.
There's like light shows and all that shit.
Savage gets fireworks.
Yeah, it's funny because they all hold up the cards and everything, and that had to be like right when he became Akeem, because when he comes out, they don't even hold up a card that says Akeem. Akeem is coming out, and the card says One Man Gang.
I guess I didn't even notice.
Yeah, you gotta pay close attention. But yeah, if it's the same thing I'm thinking of, and I don't think they did two of those. It says One Man Gang as Akeem's like jiving out to the ring.
Yeah. It's got like it's the same show. It's got Canal Plus on the ring apron.
Yeah,
and yes, very very cool show. But anyway, got off the beaten path there. The next thing on this thing is and I didn't make a lot of notes for the interviews, but this one I did make a note for because it's an interview with Nails, and he's not doing the Nails voice.
It's because we talked about it the other day on a show that we were watching. Or show your time. I don't know if it was on my show or what, but that wasn't a Nails voice. You didn't know that?
No.
What were we talking about? We were talking about we were talking about Canyon. Remember we were talking about Mortis and how cool the Mortis character was? But when they let him talk, he talked with Canyon's voice.
Mm-hmm.
We weren't knocking Chris Canyon's voice because you can't control your voice, you know. But like Mortis shouldn't have talked because the Mortis character shouldn't have that voice. Like he shouldn't have that lisp or whatever that he had.
Yeah.
That's what they did with Nails in the WWF because they liked his look. They liked the way he worked. He works like Nails. They distorted his voice on purpose. Like they did like a module thing with him. Like, you know, when you're talking to like one of those microphones as a kid and it would be like a voice distorting thing. That's what they did. Like when he's like, "Boss man," that wasn't him. That wasn't him doing it. That was the WWF altering his voice.
I had no idea about that.
Yeah, that's why they did it because, like I said, they liked the look of him and everything, and then when they had him fucking talk, they're like, "Oh, that's not Nails." Oh, geez. Oh, golly. Yeah, it doesn't work.
Boss man, hey, boss man, hey.
Yeah.
You bet you sure. I'm gonna lay out.
Yeah. So when he would cut promos and shit, they would do the modular thing with his voice.
Well, I learned something new that I didn't know.
And I learned that by listening to The Artful Dodger. I listened to a thing about that with Bruce Pritchard talking about nails, and like I said, they just like production wise, they would distort his voice because they were like, this isn't what nails should sound like.
I'm a convict, eh?
Yeah, shouldn't sound like he's fucking from Fargo.
Oh no! Oh jeez.
Oh jeez.
William H. Macy,
Yeah.
amazing in that movie.
Yeah. But you don't want William H. Macy playing nails.
All right, William H. It's even funny. Like he tried, like when he's on the phone with the warranty company or whatever, and he's even trying to be mad. And I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but it's just like even when he's trying to be mad, he's so not intimidating. It's like let me tell you here. You made a promise, and Anyway, I love that fucking movie. The show's really good too. You ever watch the show?
No.
Fargo?
No. Is it on FX?
Yes.
FX. You gotta have Hulu to get FX, and I don't have Hulu.
Oh, well, if you can find it or you get a chance at some point, watch the Fargo series. It's fantastic.
Hulu's the one that I dropped off. Like I had it gets to the point where you have so many streaming services where you're like, okay, well, I'm gonna cut the cord on cable, but it's like I have all these streaming services, and now I'm paying more than I paid for cable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I like Hulu. I use because I don't have cable at all, and I still like to watch the WWE shows or fast forward through them. So I kept Hulu because it's got Raw and SmackDown. Kindle and I, there's a lot of stuff Kindle and I like on there too, and I have it bundled with my Spotify.
I understand that.
But I dropped Netflix, but I still have it because I use our mother's Netflix. She uses my Hulu. I use her Netflix. It's a fair trade. Anyway, back to our show here. I put on here, I don't know why I put this note. There's an interview with Tommy Rich, and all I put, I guess I wasn't specific enough in my notes. All I put was interview with Tommy Rich. Rico got money. So I don't know what I was referring to.
I know what you were talking about. I know what you were talking about.
Does he say Rico got money?
No, I think Mr. Hughes was involved in it.
Oh, okay.
Because I kind of wrote a note about how Mr. Hughes' entire gimmick was all about somebody having money.
Always.
Yeah.
You got money?
I got money.
One of my favorite things from the early ECW stuff is Jason going, Mr. Hughes, I need your help. And all he says to him is, you got money?
He's like, yep. All right. The big cat does not care. As long as you got money, he'll beat up whoever you want.
Shane Douglas, I'll beat up the Undertaker.
You got money? Curtis Hughes, one thing, side note, one of my favorite things ever was when he was on Raw and he was feuding with The Undertaker, and The Undertaker sent him that black wreath.
Mm-hmm.
It's Vince McMahon doing his Vince McMahon shit. Curtis Hughes looks at the note on the wreath and he's staring at it. Okay. And he stares at it for probably, I want to say
30 seconds at least.
15, 30 seconds. And he's just reading it. And he goes, rest in peace. And Vince McMahon's like, really took him that long to figure out what that said? Like that wasn't that was Vince McMahon being boss Vince McMahon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like took him that long to figure out what that said. Yeah,
that was Vince McMahon producing live on the air.
Yeah.
Shit. That's funny.
But the next match is Billy Joe Eaton and Ken McGuire versus Too Cold Scorpio and Chris Adams. And you talking about, like you said, you liked Tony Atlas and Coco Beware together, which I agree with. I actually was like, God damn, Chris Adams and Two Cold Scorpios actually a pretty good fucking tag team.
Yes, and I have the same thing kind of here. I have down at first. I have Too Cold and Chris Adams team up ? And then I put Chris Adams and Too Cold teaming up. Good stuff.
Yeah, these guys are good together, and I enjoyed it. And it's what the other tag team matches should have been. Like Too Cold and Chris Adams give them a little bit, but then they get the upper hand, and they have a cool little finish move where Adams hits the super kick. Too Cold hits his 450, and they're in and out with these guys, and it wasn't bad.
Although Chris Adams' music was weird.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's lots of variations on the quote unquote British Bulldog theme, whatever that song's called. It's not God Save the Queen, but whatever it's called. But this one was weird. It was like, it started out like that, and then it went into like a disco kind of thing. It was kind of weird.
Yeah. And I know we've had a show in the past where we talked about like guys that were surprised they never worked for Vince or whatever. You know, it's like part of me kind of wishes Chris Adams hadn't been such a fucking scumbag in real life. Like, if that guy would have been such a fucking scumbag, I think he would have had a hell of a fucking career.
Yeah, well, that's actually a question that, and again, like you said, we don't, whatever. Jim Cornette, we talk about Jim Cornette's podcast on all of our shows all the time because we all love Jimmy. But that's actually a question I've thought about sending into the drive-through, is for all the promotions, the AWA, Georgia, Mid-Atlantic, et cetera, during the WWF's 80s expansion, the one promotion they never drew a lot of talent from was World Class. And I wonder why.
I know why.
You know?
I can tell you why.
Okay.
They were all fucking pilled out goddamn scumbags. I don't want to call them scumbags, but they had a lot of fucking baggage.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look at all the shit that Chris Adams did. Like,
Yeah.
drug possessions, Grand Theft Auto, he fucking head-butted a stewardess.
Yeah, kind of a train wreck.
Not a stewardess, sorry. He didn't headbutt a stewardess. He headbutted a pilot because the stewardess wouldn't give him any more beer or drinks. And she was like, you got to stop. And then the co-pilot came out and he fucking headbutted him.
You're right. It's a train wreck.
Like fucking Gino Hernandez using fucking... That's why. Like, it was an entire promotion of Scott Hall's. Okay, and I know the guy passed away, and I'm not saying anything bad about him, but that's what it was. It's like we could have one of those guys. We can have one of them,
but you can't have a whole roster.
but we can't have 10 of them.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And that's really honestly why I think it was like that.
Yeah, like I said, I think I always understood why the boys like Chris or like Kerry and Kevin and David wouldn't have been scooped up, because obviously they're going to stay loyal to their dad and the promotion.
But Fritz turned an eye to all of it.
Yeah,
like Gino, Chris, Adams, all those guys. He fucking turned a blind eye to all that shit. And Fritz, and that's why I put Fritz in our fucking Hall of Shame, because that guy, all he gave a shit about was making a goddamn buck.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty sure that's probably what Jim Cornette would tell you. He'd probably be more eloquent about it. He probably wouldn't say they didn't want to sign 10 Scott Halls, but I think that's why.
The next thing on this AWF show is Sergeant Slaughter wrestling, of course, the Terrorist.
Who speaks with a New York accent, by the way.
I'm a jihadist. How you doing?
Yeah, how you doing? This is
Car
the question,
bomb.
and I have a question written in here, and I thought Arch would be on here, so it was a question, be like, what do you guys think? But I'll just ask you.
Mhm.
How do I say this? Like you were talking about Akeem not being the greatest worker in the world. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But hell of a bumper.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I
Especially
want
for
to.
his size.
Yeah, that's what I want to ask about Sergeant Slaughter. I think Sergeant Slaughter, and I have my opinion, but I wanted to get you guys' opinion. I think Sergeant Slaughter is a hell of a bumper. Okay, and you don't get a bump named after you if you're not a great bumper, because there's a Slaughter bump, you know.
Mhm.
So we can both agree, Sergeant Slaughter, great bumper.
Absolutely.
Sergeant Slaughter, great worker. Do you think Sergeant Slaughter is a great worker?
I do.
I do too. I really do. He wasn't like fucking Ric Flair or whatever, but I think Sergeant Slaughter gets somewhat underrated in being able to fucking work a match. And
I mean, okay. A couple of examples I'll use just to put him over. His matches with Pat Patterson. Those are matches you can go back a couple of times a year and watch them and find a new nuance every time you watch it. And obviously, Pat was one of the best workers of all time, but Slaughter was right there with him, hanging in there.
yeah,
And those are fantastic. And people can say what they want about the storyline. They can say what they want about whatever. Even at it being later in his career, he had great matches with Hulk Hogan. And I'm sure I could find more. There's actually a match that I really and you and I have talked about it on the show before. Neither one of us are like quote unquote AWA students. That's probably out of the major promotions. That's probably the one we would watch the least or be the least attracted to. I saw a match with Slaughter and Wahoo McDaniel one time. That's one of the greatest brawls I've ever seen. And yeah, fantastic worker, Sergeant Slaughter. I agree with you. He doesn't get enough credit for how absolutely good he was.
yeah, and like part of it's the gimmick. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
People because the gimmick's fantastic. Like you could do whatever you want with that fuck. Like you can make that gimmick a fucking face or a heel, whatever the fuck you want to do with it.
Yep.
Yeah, I just think the guy was great, and I like everything about him. The psychology of him, his fucking promos.
Yeah. Well, like you said, the gimmick. He can be a dickhead drill instructor.
Yeah.
Or he can be an all-American soldier.
Yeah. And either way, like, I'm into this shit.
Yes.
I like Bob Slaughter.
Up next on this thing, our man, Mr. Hughes, is in a match against the Superfly. No, it's not Jimmy Snuka.
It's Tonga.
When I heard them say the Superfly, I was like, of course Snuka's on this show. But it wasn't. It wasn't Jimmy Snuka.
It's Tonga. I think it was Tonga, right? Yeah, it wasn't Samu.
Yes.
It was Tonga.
Yeah, it was Tonga Kid. Because the SST on this was Samu and Tama. Right?
Sure.
Yes. And this was Tonga Kid. No, not Tonga Kid. Tonga Kid's Haku. I get him confused. This was King Tonga or whatever. Anyway, whatever. It's one of the Samoans, and he's against Mr. Hughes.
And Hughes beats him.
Yes. And afterwards, we get a promo with Mr. Hughes and Adnan Al-KC. And then, here we go. My man, Coco Beware against Nails with an S.
Yes. And there is a promo from the Warlord. And
I have that written down. Oh, yeah, I do. They show a video of Nails.
yeah.
Yes,
And
okay.
because he's selected Nails will be his tag team partner in the tag team tournament. And Warlord points something out, and I thought it was actually this was actually pretty cool. They're putting Nails over as being fucking out of control, and nobody can control him, which is obviously out of control. Because Ken Resnick goes, Warlord, Nails is insane. Nobody can control him. Like, what do you think you could, like, do you really think you can keep him in line? And Warlord was like, no, why would I want to? Why do you think I would want to? You know what I mean? Like, he wants this out of control tag team partner. But what I put in because there's not a lot of Warlord promos like in the WWF. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's a lot of whoever's managing him, whether it's Fuji or Slick. There's just a lot of him going, ha 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 ha.
Yeah. But what I put, like, watching the Warlord's promo style, I put the Warlord cuts a promo like a Speed Racer villain. Do you know what I mean? Like, yes. like, why would I want to control him? Ha ha ha! I'm gonna come at you. Like, he's speaking really fast and then going ha ha ha. Like, I think like he's like, I'm gonna get you, Racer X and Speed Racer. Ha ha ha.
Yeah,
up in the chopper. I'm gonna take her out. Ha ha ha.
Like Dr. and like Dr. Roboto and Sonic. Yeah.
He's very fast speaking, and then he goes, ha ha ha. It's just all I thought about was because I'm a Speed Racer, Mark. I like Speed Racer. And I was like,
I said Sonic, I meant Mega Man. Sorry.
That's fine. But like he speaks like an anime villain. That's how Warlord got all his promos.
Now I'm good with it.
I'm gonna take you out right now. Ha ha ha.
My evil plan will come to fruition.
That's the fucking Warlord, and it's fucking awesome.
Up next, it's Nails with an S, like I said, against Coco Beware. And it's fine. Tony Atlas comes out afterward to still building their feud. Apparently, like Aaron said, this thing's so disjointed. There's so much going on. At one point, some guy put this together for us. Thank you, guy, whoever you are. And the next match is throughout the show, they're talking about their tournament to crown the AWF champion. It's funny because on this whole thing, this dude never put a Tito Santana match on it. We hear about Tito, but and Tito actually before we went to or before we recorded the show, I looked up some stuff about the AWF, and even after the promotion folded, he had a match on some other indie show with the AWF on the title on the line. I forget who it said it was against, but on this indie show, some guy came out and said, well, the AWF was alive. You dodged me for the title. So Tito brought out his AWF title and defended the championship on an indie show. But anyway, the next match, it's the AWF title tournament. It's Chris Adams against the Warlord. And I liked this match too.
Yeah. It was good. And Warlord, like I said, he's not like, like we were talking about with Slaughter. It's not like he's like this great worker,
He's not putting on a clinic.
But he looks fucking good, and Chris Adams, I think, could, like I said, he was a scumbag. Like, all you got to do is watch Gentleman's Choice. Realize how fucking trashy Chris Adams. Did you ever watch that, by the way?
No.
You got to watch it. Like, it's. I almost want to rewatch it, and I want Chad to rewatch it, and I want you to watch it, and I want us to like fucking review it. It's the fucking Tiger King of professional wrestling. It's the fucking Tiger King of wrestling. Like, remember Beyond the Mat? You watched Beyond the Mat, right?
Oh, yeah. I've watched Beyond the Mat multiple times.
Yeah. The chick that fights like the little stripper girl that Chris Adams finds.
Yeah.
She's on it. She's in there. Her and her husband. They're talking about fucking Chris Adams trying to get one over on them because they were the big time stars, and Chris was trying to hold them down and all this shit. And they're interviewing her in a fucking goddamn like trailer park parking lot and all this shit. You gotta fucking watch it, man. You just gotta watch. Gentleman's Choice.
I will put it in my queue.
I really want me, you, and Chad to fucking review Gentleman's Choice, the Chris Adams story. Oh my fucking God. Like, I watched the whole thing and I felt dirty after I watched it.
Need a shower after you watch it.
Yes. I don't know what made me bring that up. But anyway, yeah, I know what made me bring it up. Just being that I said, like, it sucks that Chris Adams was so much of a shit human being because that dude was fucking good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, really fucking good.
Very versatile. And again, another guy that could be a face or a heel.
Yeah.
You
Like,
know?
this is like, I would say this about Chris Adams. I put Chris Adams like in ring work on the same level as Brett and Sean. And that's a lot of praise.
Mm-hmm.
But as a human being, terrible. And that's why nobody ever wanted to do anything with him outside of like, Texas, where he was at. But I mean, he was as good as Bret Hart or Shawn Michaels, but he was just a fucking terrible human being.
Yeah. And
Like,
yeah.
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just gonna say you don't want to hire a train wreck when you're a major or you don't. I guess WCW hired him for a while. You don't want to push a train wreck when you're a major wrestling promotion.
Yeah, they signed him, but he was fucking working goddamn Saturday night and this, that, and the other thing. Like, I'm stumbling over my fucking words. I'd put him in the same category that I'd put Dynamite.
Mm-hmm.
And Dynamite Kid talks about that in his book, which I actually liked his book. I know there's a lot of stuff in his book that's kind of bullshit, but I still like reading it. But he said something in his book, and it was a guy being super honest about himself. It was when he thought him and Davey were going to leave. He thought him and Davey were going to leave together, and he contacted the NWA, and the NWA didn't call him back. Finally got him on the phone, and he said that Ric Flair answered, and Flair was kind of being like an intermediate booker.
Mm-hmm.
And Flair said, "Sorry, Tom, we're not hiring anybody that's been in the WWF recently right now," and hung up on him. And Dynamite was like, "I knew then that was bullshit. They didn't want to hire me because they knew about my baggage."
Right.
Like, they knew, they got fucking locker room reports and all this shit about what I was doing, and we're like, we don't want that guy in our fucking locker room.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly think that's why Chris Adams never had a bigger career, because they were just like, yeah, no company was like, we don't want that. Like, why do we need that right now?
Keyword liability.
Yes. And that's like the most honest thing in Dynamite's book, is he was like, I really think that was the point in that guy's career where he was like, I gotta fucking bounce. Yeah. That, and he said that he came home and all the shit was out of the house, and there was a one-way ticket to England signed by his wife. Like, he's like, all right, I gotta go. You ever hear what Brett said about Dynamite? When he
Well, I
went
mean,
through,
I read Brett's book, so
he's talking about fucking Dynamite was like shooting goddamn fucking jackrabbits and shit while the kids were out there playing. And Brett's like, yeah, we're not going to bring the kids back here anymore. Like, I'll come and see Tom. Like, Julie, we can come and see Tom.
one of the
Kids anymore.
one of the little things about Brett's book actually that I appreciate, because his book
It's fantastic.
Brett's book, Mick's first book, Jericho's first book, and Blassie's book are the four that I've read the most. Okay, over and over
Blassie's
again.
book's my favorite book ever.
One of the little subtle things that I love about Brett's book is that when he's talking about Dynamite, the word "fucking" is always spelled Fookin.
Yeah.
Fukin.
Fukin.
That's just one of the little subtleties of Brett's book that I love. The last thing on this deal that we watched is a match between Cowboy Bob Orton and Chris Adams in the AWF title tournament. Obviously, Cowboy wins. He's going to face Tito in the finals because that's how you do East Coast booking in 1995. But and it's a good match between Orton and Adams, and I'm never going to complain about watching Cowboy Bob wrestle. And the thing I like about Cowboy Bob actually in the AWF is he kind of dropped the comedic tones of his character that he had when he was with Piper. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, he doesn't have the arm cast on.
He's back to being more serious, like he was in Mid-Atlantic and all that.
They even bring that up in commentary. They're talking about how because Adnan's with him now. No, not Adnan. Fucking Humperdinck. They have Humperdinck with him, and they're talking about how like Humperdinck's this evil mastermind, and he's using this. I think they even call him an assassin. Like Humperdinck's using Bob Orton as his assassin, that type of thing. And there's like a couple. You didn't write down a lot of promos, and I didn't either. But there's like promos sprinkled through this mixtape where Bob Orton's like talking about taking people out in the tournament and shit like that. Bob Orton's fucking cool.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, any Orton, his dad, him, his son. I mean, Randy Orton. People can say what they want about him, and it's been 20 years. God damn. Anyway, it's been 20 years since he popped up in the WWE. In that company, in the past 2 decades, Randy's the most consistent performer. I don't care what anybody says. And he's had times where maybe his gimmick was a little boring or whatever.
Right now he's boring.
But when the bell rings, see, I like him and Riddle. I dig it. So I'm
not. You know me. I'm not a Riddle fan.
I know we're of two minds on that, but
eventually, I don't want to cut you off.
But I was just gonna say he is bell to bell the best wrestler of his generation.
Yeah.
End of story.
I was gonna say, well, eventually those birds are gonna fly out of Riddle's ass and he's gonna get RKO'd.
Or, and this is my opinion, because you're working to the future, right? And like we just said, Randy's 20 years a veteran. I would actually prefer Riddle turns on Randy.
See, I understand that, but I think Randy will turn on him, and I don't like Riddle, but Riddle ends up beating him at like a WrestleMania or something, and you can do whatever the fuck you want with that tricycle ride motherfucker or whatever he's on. But Randy Orton is this is what I'd say about Randy. If I had to describe Randy Orton to somebody, Randy Orton is if Ric Flair and Jake Roberts were able to procreate shoot out a fucking baby. Does that make sense?
Yes, because he's got the in-ring ability of Flair and the psychology ability of
psychology of Jake Roberts.
and again, like I said, I would say, and then we'll wrap it up here, but it just got me thinking about it. I've thought about it a lot because I am actually going to put him on my ballot for our Hall of Fame next year as Randy Orton, and 20 years, okay. His generation of wrestlers, I put him on top, and I love AJ, and I love CM Punk, and I would also put them up top too for their generation.
I would too.
But Randy is just the best and most consistent performer, and Brock and Cena, but he's just the best and most consistent performer ever.
The thing that I would put him over like an AJ or Punk, which you're a bigger Punk fan than I am. I'm not going to say I don't like CM Punk, but the reason I would put them under Randy is, and this isn't a knock or anything, but there were times when those guys were doing like that X Division shit. And I don't want to call it shit. The X Division style. You know what I mean? Like okay, there's 3 big high spots in a row and nobody's selling shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Does what I'm saying make sense? And I'm not knocking AJ Styles or CM Punk.
Right.
And, or like the guy that I think is the biggest misuse. This is I'm just gonna say it. The biggest misuse talent in current wrestling aspect, like the current wrestling landscape is right now.
Past 20 years?
Right now, just right now.
Oh, okay. Shelton Benjamin?
Okay. Possibly Shelton. But I think the most misused, miscast, he means nothing, and he should be one of the biggest stars in the fucking world is Finn Balor.
Agreed.
Like, that guy should be fucking Bret Hart right now, in my opinion. But I didn't even put Randy over him because Finn still does that shit sometimes, where it's like some guy crashes him through this thing or he does some crazy ass thing and then he just pops back up.
Yeah.
Randy doesn't do that shit.
Yeah, absolutely. Watch Randy Orton anytime he's ever been in a Money in the Bank match.
Yeah.
When some crazy spot happens where there's a ladder and a table and blah blah blah, Randy Orton probably isn't going to win that match because he's going to sell it like, well, I got destroyed on that spot, and
But that's the way I look at it. I know we kind of got in the weeds on it, but I just the AWF mixtape was fucking weird.
Yeah, it was schizophrenic. And it was at times a pleasant surprise. Nate Maxon discovered that he likes the tag team of Tony Atlas and Coco Beware, and Tony Atlas feuding with Nails with an S. So that is my takeaway from this journey down the rabbit hole of the AWF,
which went nowhere. And I think that I want to keep going down this, and I know we probably can't do it every week, but every once in a while, just I want to do it. It came from YouTube, like some random ass shit that's found on YouTube that somebody has out there. To me, this was fun.
I enjoyed it too. We'll wrap up here, but when you first sent me the video, again, I thought it was going to be like a 45-minute TV episode. Then I opened the thing and I was like, fuck, this thing's 2 hours and 30 minutes long. And I thought I was going to hate it. And I found myself enjoying watching it. So
and you understood why I texted you guys or messaged you guys and said, are you sure you want to do this? Because I didn't know it was going to be what it was. And I'm like, yeah, let's do it.
It was fun.
And now it made me want to be like, oh, I'm going to find more random ass shit on YouTube.
Well, do you have any parting words for our listeners this week?
I just want to thank them for listening. And like Nate said, we don't have a booth this year or anything, but we're gonna be wandering around the fucking Heroes and Legends in Fort Wayne. So if any of you guys are there, I'll probably have my relive it. I don't want you're gonna wear your reliving the extreme shirt. I gotta find my We Can't Wrestle podcast shirt or what. I don't want to be like Twinkies. People are gonna think we're a couple.
My parting words are check out all the other shows here on the WrestleNet Radio Podcast Network, including Aaron's show, The Year That Was, ... Slice of Time, where we go back 25 years ago in professional wrestling to cover all the news, notes, and results. Of course, our buddy, Mr. Archie Mitchell, who is home and better, and we're happy about that.
We think he's better. He didn't show up today.
I'm sure he was probably like, fuck you guys, I'm going to bed.
Or they're going to find him tomorrow.
Join him for If You Smell What the Arch Is Cooking. There are a couple of new shows coming to the network. And of course, Reliving the Extreme with Aaron, myself, and Chad Austin going through every single week of ECW. We are heading our way to Hardcore Heaven 1994 and almost to that fateful night where Shane Douglas threw down the NWA Championship and cut his historic promo. We're almost there. We're almost to ECW becoming Extreme Championship Wrestling, and I am very excited for that.
Yes. And
that being
it's going to get good, and then our show is going to get bad.
I think what will happen is our show might get less comedic.
We got to figure out ways to not make that happen.
They'll give us a reason. Pro wrestling always gives you a reason to make fun of it.
I gotta have reasons to fucking make memes and shit. I was super proud of that big cat, you're not the father thing I put together.
All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us this week on the We Can't Wrestle podcast. We'll see you next time around. Have a great week. And hopefully if you're in the area, we will see you at Heroes and Legends Wrestling this Saturday. Come out, enjoy the show, meet some wrestlers, and maybe you'll bump into one of us. We'll see you next week, everybody, for the We Can't Wrestle podcast. Have a great week.